appointee under HB 77, I take our fiscal responsibility, fiduciary responsibility, very seriously. Why do you think we haven't implemented the recommendations of your office and the legislature?
The response attached at the back of the audit that came from DOT says that they haven't been able to fill positions. I find that interesting, given that DOT a year or two ago misinterpreted a law, gave out these huge raises, and all of that was about we can't retain, we can't keep people, we can't recruit people, and so now they can't hire people. So again, and this was all before COVID, you know, this kind of stuff that was going on was all before COVID, or I guess maybe at the beginning of COVID. So, but that's what their reasoning is. We are waiting to hire staff to implement these recommendations.
Thank you.
You trying to add that to the next audit, some recommendations?
Well, I think you're all headed in the right direction. Who is it? I hear you're using Ernst & Young. Data analytics, if you're not incorporating data analytics in where you're headed in the future, you're going to get left way behind. So if you're using Ernst & Young to help you with some more sophisticated budgeting, more sophisticated looking at what has gone on, what adjustments might need to be made because of COVID, and then what do we expect in the future. There is a science to forecasting. Again, you're never going to be spot on, but you're not going to be $742 million off either.
Thank you. Very good question, Alan. I've got Grady Hunt and then Andy Wells. Grady?
Good morning, Alder Wooden. Appreciate you being here. What improvements did your team recognize since the first audit? I know you said it was limited, and you alluded to some things at the end that maybe were not incorporated in the audit. So just interested to hear your perspective on that.
That they, my staff did not go into a lot of details. I'm going to be honest because I don't want to say this. In the report, DOT responded and they laid out some things that they were doing. My staff says, yes, we saw some of that going on. So if you read, and Stephanie said that copies of the report were given to y'all, there's a response at the back from DOT, and those are the kind of things that probably this board could hold them accountable for. When do you plan to get those positions filled? When do you plan to have more sophisticated budgeting forecast for your expenditures? And those kinds of things that they say they've got going on, it's in their response at the end of my report. And those may be the very kinds of things that you want to see some kind of update. Because again, we put this report out in September. We haven't been in there since, I don't know, June or July, August, somewhere along in there. So if they've hired somebody now, I certainly wouldn't know it. But some of the things that they put in their response, my staff said they saw evidence that some attempts were being made. But we do qualify. We're not saying it's the best move. We're not saying it's the best thing they can do. But again, read the response from DOT, and it will say what they say they're doing.
Thank you.
Andy Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Beth, for being here. I don't think I enjoy reading your reports, but I'm always impressed by it. Not a question, I have a comment. I'd like to put this in some context. Aside from the fiduciary responsibility, which we talk about, but I'm not feeling on the board, it seems like we spent more time talking about litter than we have about the auditor's reports over the last year. I feel like, based on my experience, we're not going to address our financial needs if we continue to ignore requests from the auditor and the General Assembly. I don't know that we can meet them immediately, but we've got to show a lot more progress than what I'm hearing is being received from either the auditor or the General Assembly. So I know we're facing a second financial collapse because costs have exploded, and we didn't catch it in time, and the public doesn't know that, and they're going to be very disappointed, probably more disappointed than they are about the litter issue, when we tell them that their project's going to be extended out another 4 to 6 years. And the only way around that, I mean, we know we're going to lose revenues over technology changes. We know that's coming. We've got to have legislation, and we've got to have appropriations to do what we need in this state. And if we don't address these audit issues, we're not going to see that happen. That's my opinion.
Andy, I would tell you, most of you know that I'm of a different party than the majority of the legislators down at the General Assembly. And I would say that if you can prove to them that you're going to spend their money wisely and well, and it's needed, you'll get it. I don't care what anybody says. But when you constantly give out numbers that nobody can depend on, when you hear one thing being said and then something else crops up again, and I wanted to come to this board because you are making some very important decisions about the projects going on across the state, and I need you to understand that the information that you're getting is not as reliable and accurate and credible as it needs to be for you to make the decisions that you're making.
Thank you, Andy. Chairman Fox, you have your hand up?
Yes, Tony, thank you very much. And
Mike, you're muted.
Thank you. I guess it's now officially a meeting since we've been able to say that. I do want to address a couple things. I don't want to have a debate here. This is not the forum for that. I appreciate the auditor coming and speaking. I do want to point out, just for the record, I do not believe that the information that we're putting out is inaccurate or false in any way. I have confidence in our staff. I sat and listened patiently as the auditor went through a lot of information that has been covered many times before, and I don't think that there is any doubt that we needed to change the way we did our financial reporting and get the board more involved in the day-to-day oversight and the numbers. And I think we've made tremendous strides in doing that. And I think the auditor's last audit, is a snapshot in time. And I think she's acknowledged here today that there are additional things that are going on. And I believe that this board, along with the staff, has been very proactive in addressing a lot of those issues and continuing to address the issues as they come up. Do we need continued work on it? Absolutely. But have we done nothing since that first audit came out? Absolutely not. And so I think it would be unfair to portray it as that. I would also encourage you, Auditor Wood, to let's have some additional conversations, because I think there are some fundamental things that either you or your staff don't understand about our operation. And one of the things that you said here just today reflects that, your comment about how we budget for the storms. I understood what you said, but there's a fundamental misunderstanding in your statement. You said something to the effect of, we should take that money that we get in from the federal government and immediately apply that. Well, unfortunately for all of us, it doesn't work like that. What has to happen is that when we have a major storm and we have a lot of bridges go out or roads go out, the process is that we have to spend the money to fix it, and then we apply to FEMA and the federal government to reimburse us for that. We don't get reimbursed in advance. We have to apply to it. And many times it is years before we get that. So we're faced with the dilemma of, do we fix the road and the bridges for our citizens, or do we wait until we have the money, in some future year to fix that, or do we go ahead and fix it and get reimbursement for FEMA? It's not an ideal situation, but I think it helps to have a productive conversation if we're all operating on the same facts. And I don't know that there would be any better service that anyone ever did to our state if we were able to work together to figure out a way to get that reimbursement faster and address that. But
see, Chairman, we are going to have a debate because you're basically telling me I don't know what I'm doing. So I would tell you this: when your staff cannot answer the questions, yes, we get the money and it came 2 years later. Your staff can't answer the questions intelligibly so that they explain why there's a $246 million overspend. I found, and you're welcome to look at it, but your dashboards have inaccurate information, data in it, and basically the answer from your staff said, we wait till the users find the errors and then come tell us about it and then we'll fix it. Now, you can challenge all of that you want to, and I am not saying that you haven't made any tries at changing. I'm telling you, at the end of 6 months, nothing had been done, and I'm telling you that I'm not coming back until September of 2022, and don't wait on me to tell you what's wrong in that agency. And I'm also saying I listened to a lot of numbers being handed out today from your financial person, and I don't know how you depend on any of them except you say, I know they're doing a great job. I trust but verify, and I challenge you to find anything inaccurate, which we have tried to let your staff do, and they can't find anything inaccurate in my audit reports. And if you're trying to read that I'm saying they're terrible or they're not trying, that is not what I've said here today. But we cannot move at the pace of the way state government moved 10 years ago. And I'm telling you what their answers were to us. So, again, not saying y'all haven't made any progress. I'm just saying what I found at the end of 6 months. And again, the part about the reimbursement, nobody offers up that explanation. To say I don't know what's going on here, I know that the federal government reimburses, and I know that that can take some time. I am not illiterate. But those explanations were never offered up when we did that first audit, that money does come in. It comes in later, and we use it for this. Those explanations were never offered up, but really, frankly, didn't need to be because I know how that process works. So, not a debate. Yeah, we're going to have a debate today because you basically said, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Auditor. We appreciate your time and look forward to having you back. Thank you.
Thank you.